What's good, guys? So in this video we are going to be talking about the best no-code tool in 2020. We're going to be talking about exactly that. So I've made lots and lots of videos talking about different no-code tools. We talked about Bubble, we talked about Appgyver, we talked about Adalo, we talked about Glideapps, Thunkable, Backendless, and many other tools. And so by this point, having experimented with many of these tools and even having built real user apps with a lots of these tools, I have a pretty good idea of the best tool for 2020 when it comes to no-code development. Now, before we start talking about the best no-code tool, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of app are we going to build? Because I'm gonna be letting you in on a little secret. There's really no best tool. There's a best tool for a specific job. And when you start thinking about it in this kind of sense, the problem becomes very simple, and it allows you to arrive at a solution that is perfect for your specific use case. And so if you are looking to build something like a web app, meaning this is going to be used mostly on computers, it's going to be mostly used on laptops, desktops. It could also be used on mobile, but mobile is not your main concern, okay? Then you need to be looking at tools such as Bubble and Appgyver, okay? So here I have Bubble here, and here I have an Appgyver. There's another tool that's really good, is Thunkable, right? You can create custom native apps with no code. Now, what is the difference between these main tools? Well, the biggest difference is that Bubble is probably one of the more kind of well-known tools out there. Bubble makes it really easy to create lots of these apps. It gives you a database. So for instance, I have here a simple app. If I open it up, I can easily create, workflows. I can design my app. And another thing that Bubble allows you to do is it has internal data storage. Okay, so not only can you send data externally using APIs and stuff like that, like you can with other tools, but also it gives you an internal data storage, which makes it very simple to create all kinds of apps, because you don't have to worry about having an API connector that's going to send data and get data from some third party. You have data which you can store, you can create your custom data types, and that makes it a lot easier. And so Bubble is a great place to start if you're building like a web app, a SaaS app, anything that's not exactly mobile first, okay? Another really great tool is Appgyver, okay? Now, Appgyver is kind of a similar tool to Bubble, but it has lots and lots of important differences. So if we log in into my account here, you can see that I have here an app that I created some time ago. And if you open up this app, you can see that you can create a really great mobile first app. So this app here, as you can see, it is mobile first. As you can see, it's designed to be viewable and usable on an iPhone, XR, XS Max, etc. I can also, have it being previewed for something like an iPod Touch, iPad Pro, and this is how it's going to look like an iPad Pro. And so Appgyver is perfect if you want the flexibility and the power of a full-featured no-code tool, but you also want it to be mobile first, because what I like about Appgyver is that yes, there are tons of other mobile first tools out there, but in my view, Appgyver is probably one of the more powerful ones, because you can do so many things. Like you have your logic here. You can, for instance, when you have your pages mounted, you can hide your spinner. You can focus on that page. You have a lot of things. You also have a lot of components. You have a component market here, right? So you can actually use components that were created by other people. So there's, data type components, back-end logic, you can do front-end logic, view component, stuff like that. So it has a lot of power. The only thing that it doesn't really have is if you go into data and you go into connectors, you have a Google Firebase connector. you do not have kind of an internal database when it comes to Appgyver. What you can do is you can have a data resource, which is a REST API direct integration, meaning that if you can get data from some third party using a REST API, like what I'm doing here in my app, then you can get that data into Appgyver. If you can't, meaning like you have that data that you need to use manually, then you need to set up a third-party service that is going to allow you to expose the data that you have as a third-party API. And so this is one of the biggest kind of differences when it comes between Appgyver and many other tools, is that a lot of these other tools, they give you built-in database. So for instance, in Bubble here, I can go to data, I can configure it here. But with Appgyver, nothing of that source. I think this was actually added recently, fairly recently, at least to my knowledge. So something like Google Firebase, which is a great storage platform. So if you're a little bit more advanced and you want to, work with Google Firebase, you want to kind of study it. I built apps with Google Firebase. It's a great tool, but definitely it requires a slight learning curve, okay? And so Appgyver is another great tool when it comes to mobile first development. Now, let me show you another tool that I really, really like, and this is Thunkable, okay? Now, the thing with Thunkable is that Thunkable is completely different. It works very, very differently than Bubble and Appgyver, and you can design all kinds of apps with it, okay? So let me log into my account right now. And so here I am logged into my account. I have here one app. This is just a test app that I went out and created just to show how this app works, right? And so what's interesting about this specific tool, Thunkable, is that if you go, here we are on the design page, if you go into blocks, you will see that you're basically putting in jigsaw pieces together. So when you say, when this is clicked, do this. Okay, in Bubble, in Appgyver, it's completely different. So for instance, in Bubble, if you go in here, you have your workflow, and then you have kind of this flow. But with Thunkable, it makes it really, really easy. It dumbs it down considerably. So that is kind of what you're doing. And this is what, this is kind of the design that you have. You can do a web preview. Here's the app. As you can see, it's also kind of mobile here. And we can preview in the new window. We can go back to editing, and you can create all kinds of apps. They also have a data source, right? So here's our data source. It's all built in. You don't need a third-party API. I have here Google Sheet. I also have direct database, right? So we can go in here. We can kind of rename it. We can click it, and we have actual data. And I can add all this data. I can do things, and I can't really do that with Appgyver. And so Thunkable is a great choice if you like this block stuff, right? Because this is like a Thunkable thing. Also, there's another tool called Backendless that allows you to do something very, very similar. But I feel that Backendless is a little bit of a more powerful tool, although it has the same methodology of using these blocks and the design. It's all very, very similar. But Thunkable, in my experience, is a little bit of an easier tool to get started, whereas Backendless is a lot more complicated, also a lot more powerful. And so these first three tools are what I call very, very powerful tools. These are the tools that you can use to design web pages. You can use them to design mobile apps. You can use them to design all kinds of things. The next tool that I want to talk about, and this is a tool if you're gonna do mobile development. So let's say you want to build a mobile app that does whatever you want it to do. You can build a Tinder clone. You can build a magazine clone. You can build a chat app. You can build anything. If you're going to be doing mobile design, this is the first step that I would start to consider. So let's go and log in, and I'll talk a little bit about this tool so that you understand the pros and cons immediately. So the pro of this tool is that it allows you to get started very, very quickly. So for instance, I have here a test app. I can create a new app right here. I can go in here, create a new app. And I want a native mobile app. So what I'm going to do that, I can start with a template, or let's say I want blank, and I can just say test mobile app here. I can pick a color scheme and all that. You guys can do that later. And now I have all these screens. And where this tool really shines is that I can prototype my app. It's very, very easy to prototype. So I have a sign up screen. I have a login screen, I have a home screen here, so I can easily add another screen right here. I can do this, and this could be, you know, screen whatever 3 or whatever you want to call it, and boom, I have this screen. And I can create a list, I can do a detail page, I have built-in database, right? So I have built-in database. Now this tool allows you to do REST API, meaning connect to third-party services, but you need to pay a little bit extra for that. You need to upgrade. So if you hit upgrade, you got to go with this plan, which is going to cost you $39 a month. So that means that if you're not going to be using third-party APIs, if you're not going to be using connecting to some third-party service, if you can at least initially, when you're building a prototype, and really all prototypes can be built with this local data. You don't need a third-party API. You can start using this tool immediately. And this is the tool that I use personally whenever I need to prototype a mobile app. I do not use this tool for creating very complicated web pages, because when you are going to start working with this tool, you're going to run into limitations very, very quickly. It's a very, very easy tool to use. But if you're going to be doing something a lot more complicated, a lot more complex, where you need to have a very complicated web page, and you need to be getting data from all sources. So for instance, I have here a home page. I can easily add a list, right? I can just add a list. This list, I need to specify, what is this a list of? Let's say users. Okay, done. But I cannot have another, piece of, another component here that's going to be pulling data from some other source, right? This list, it can only get it from this this source here. Whereas with Bubble, Appgyver, I can pull data from many other sources. And so if you're building something very, very complicated, I would start with Bubble or Appgyver. If you're building a mobile prototype, if you're just building like a mobile app, and you have a user, let's say they click on a user, I can just add an action, and I say this is a link to this screen here, and it's gonna push the current user, and then I can do something like plus text, and then I can display information about that user. So if you are looking to do a very quick prototype, and you want to see, you have an idea for a web app, maybe this is a Tinder clone, maybe this is an appointment app, maybe this is some app for like a city, a country, some kind of a tourism app, something very, very simple. Basically something that does not need to have a lot of crazy logic, something that, you can display data very simply. So let's say you have a list of cities and you want to display some information about that city, or a list of countries and you want to display, a bunch of cities for that country and that information. You can do using this tool. It's going to be very, very easy. The problems arise when you're trying to do something a lot more complex. You want to pull data from many sources. You want to, change how it looks. You want, a lot more flexibility. You're going to run into problems. This is something that I've experienced personally when I was developing various apps. And also I talked about in some of my previous videos. But for prototyping, this is a perfect tool. Another really good tool is called Glideapps. This is the tool right here. It's at glideapps.com. You can create powerful apps, websites without code. So I'm going to log in into my account. And here I am logged into this tool. And this is a tool that I would even say it's even simpler than the previous tool. So this tool is simpler, in my view, than something like Adalo. And so what I mean by that is that I have here a sample app. So if I open this app, you're going to see exactly what's happening here. And so here's my app. I have like, a bunch of, New York. I have a bunch of cities with their descriptions. You can design. There's a lot more functionality here for designing, but there's not a lot of logic things that you can do. And so using this tool, it's going to be very difficult or nearly impossible to build something like a Tinder clone or a chat app or an appointment app. It's going to be more difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but you're going to be pulling your hair out, all right, while building something like that. This tool is perfect if you have data and you want to just display that data in a mobile app. So, you have your data that looks something like this. You have, like a spreadsheet. If you want to convert a spreadsheet into a mobile app, this is the tool that you're going to be using. This is what I recommend. But I do not recommend this tool if you're going out and you want to build some kind of an app that uses logic, because this tool is really easy for creating lists, like a list view, which is what you're seeing now. But if you click on it, you have, some text, you have some description, then you have a link. This is perfect for doing stuff like that. It's not so great for building something a lot more complicated. And so there's a lot of other tools out there, but what we are talking about here covers most of your use cases. And so let's sum it up real quick. If you're going to be building a SaaS app, this SaaS app is going to do everything. You're going to be pulling data from a third party. You may be pulling data from a third party. You may be storing data locally. You want the flexibility, right? So if I have here my tool here, I have a design. I want the flexibility. I want to do credit card processing. I want to display a list. I want to filter that list. I want all the flexibility in the world, and I want to fine tune it as much as I want. I would start with Bubble. Bubble is probably the most the most popular tool and the most flexible tool, and it does have a learning curve, but there's so many things that you can do with it, right? I would start with Bubble. If you guys are looking to do something mobile first, meaning that, you want to create a mobile app, but this app is going to do a lot of things, meaning that, it's going to have a UI, it may be pulling data from a third party, it's going to have a lot of logic, it may have a complicated UI elements, something like Bubble, but you want mobile first, I would seriously consider Appgyver. Appgyver is awesome. It's a very, very powerful tool. I would say the learning curve for Appgyver is a little bit steeper than for Bubble, meaning that it's going to take you a little bit more time, at least in my experience, to understand something like Appgyver compared to something like Bubble. Bubble is a little bit easier to get started, but Appgyver is very, very powerful. You can do a lot of amazing things. Next, if you're looking to build a SaaS app that is going to be both viewable on a mobile and it's going to be viewable as a web page, and you really like this blocks thing, right? You really, really like that. You love, it's intuitive for you, right? It's intuitive. We have our control. I want to do if, do else. I just drag it and I set it up. I just drag these pieces, and, let's say I have a text here. I can put that here. I can put that there. I can kind of connect it, stuff like that. If you like that, that's intuitive for you, or you want to learn how this works and you want to build using this specific tool, then pick something like Thunkable. Or if you want a much more powerful tool, I would recommend looking into Backendless, because it's also using this thing, but it has a lot more functionality. Next, if you're looking to do a mobile app, and this mobile app is going to have a little bit of logic, maybe like a Tinder clone like I talked about, an appointment app, a TikTok clone, maybe, I don't know, a Netflix clone perhaps. You want to build a prototype for a mobile app, but you're not going to be doing a lot of logic here. Maybe a little bit of logic, nothing too complicated, nothing serious, but you just want to get a prototype out the door. Maybe you want to show to to your parents, maybe you want to show to an investor, you want to show to your partner, you want to show, you want to show to the world, right? Just want to show a prototype and say, listen, I want to build this app. What do you guys think? And you just build a prototype, you just show it and see if people are going to engage with it. Go for Adalo. Adalo is the thing you want to be looking at. Adalo makes it super, super easy. And last but not least, in our list of tools that we're talking about today, if you are looking to take a website and convert it into a mobile app, you don't really care about logic too much. You're still going to have a little bit of logic, but not complicated logic. Then the tool you want to be looking at is Glideapps. Because the Glideapps is, you can take any kind of content, right? So if you go into our database, I have my content here, and you can easily convert it into a mobile app. And you're going to have a little bit of logic, right? Like for instance, I click on it, it goes to detail, which is, I don't even consider that logic, but we have a button here. If you click on it, it's going to go to the URL. This is also not really logic. And you're not going to be doing something like a chat app, a chat bot, any kind of real app. You just want to take your data, convert it into mobile, then that is the app, that is the tool you want to be using. Glideapps is going to be perfect for that kind of purpose, because you'll be able to take your data and immediately convert it into an app. It's a lot easier, and this is the best tool for that specific job. Now, the tools that we cover today are only a subset of all the available tools out there, but in my view and in my experience, they really cover a lot of use cases out there, okay? And hopefully this video helps you to understand what is the best tool for you in 2022, because it really comes down to your specific need. Now, if you have other needs, other requirements that I may not have covered in this video, let me know in the comment below and I will do my best to help you out. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, give this video a fat like, leave a comment below letting me know if you have any questions or comments, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you like anything and everything no code related. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.